Wholesale.
Wholesale.
Wave the great feather for the good of it. Hey, hey. Starting off with a little song. Wunda Maya when we all one day, oh yo yo. Wunda Maya when we all one day, oh yo yo. Yo 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 yo. Wunda Maya when we all one day, oh yo yo. Wunda Maya when we all one day, oh yo 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 yo. That's a Mojave song I learned when I was pretty young. Last week I spoke of the Coyote and the connection with ancient Egypt through Osiris and the rabbit. And I'm picking up on that. This past week after that, we went out there to that place out there and took a picture. We took a picture. I haven't done that before. I've known of this place for many, many years. And so we took a picture of Tukwalpite, the place where it happened. So if you can look down here at this photo, this is a little hill, a knoll. Tukwalpite means this is the place where it happened. And it's also, known as Suis Wam Yevwene, meaning the rabbit's knoll, the rabbit's hill here. And what happened here was that Coyote came to this place, and there was Hawk was there, Kasili, and Kasili lifted up Coyote, lifted him up, and from there, looking from there, he could see the place now called Warner Springs, usually known as Kupa, the Tagalog name, but it has an original name, and that's Rabbit's House, Sui Bikwish, there. And so that's the thing that happened there. This was the founding, the beginning of the Coyote lineage. The Coyote lineage is the city with them, and the Koya are known as the Sibui with them, meaning the wolf people. And the collective name of everybody is the Muruwitum, the first people. Koya is a kind of American name. I'll use that name because it's easy, like that. And so with further inspiration on that subject, you look down here. I made another little replica of that hill, which is also the head of Osiris, this rabbit hill, and that's who this is. And the song, the ancient song that I did for this last week is talking about seeing this hill from above. Just south of it, high up, is Mesa Grande. So if you were up in Mesa Grande and you could sort of fly a little bit this way, you would be looking at this hill, and as you're looking at this hill, it begins to move, begins to dance. And as it begins to do so, something begins separating in this vision that you're having. And what it is that the head of Osiris is giving off Horus, that is the hawk, and the hawk is becoming the face. In Egypt, the name Osiris is Greek, and the son of Osiris is Horus. These are Greek names. The Egyptian is different. So this native view of this begins to see Horus begin Cassini separate, and it's a disc. It's this disc of the hawk that begins to separate. That's what the song was about that I did last week. The name of Osiris again is Greek, but the Egyptian name is Asur. Asur, and it means something like strength, to be strong, to have strength. And that seems about right. The Greeks probably didn't understand the symbols for this person who had, by the time the Greeks had become extremely exalted throughout all of Egypt. And the relation to the Korea with the same sense of meaning is Eva, or Ivawitis, meaning to be strong, to be powerful. And in the Korea that was extended even farther to Iva'a, which is the numinous power throughout the world in the ancient times. And eventually that power dissipated some. It's still around, and it's particularly in some animals like the rabbit and the eagle and the coyote, and also in the medicine man or medicine woman. So that's something that the Egyptians didn't really record that part, but comparatively Sekhem in Egypt would seem to be similar to that. The Egyptian, largely we have our knowledge has come from writings that have been done by priests and are largely deciphered, translated from things that they have found in the tomb. For instance, the Egyptian quality in these people, the Korea, may be a folk inheritance over a long period of time and a long time ago. So Kasili Bewish becomes actually the story as it is in Egypt, where the hawk becomes a person, a child. He's a little person. So there's many episodes and so forth that continue with the hawk, and I'm presenting just here because I went into it last week. So you look over here, I have a little animal for the hawk. This hawk is to stand for a kestrel hawk. And it certainly is evident that the kestrel has these two marks on his cheek, and they have become the warrior marks here in Native America. And the kestrel seems to have taken the place of the Horus falcon on the Nile, which itself is made of a combination of, I think 2 or 3 birds have been put together to make the formal image of the Horus hawk there. So then I have a coyote over here, little carving, and in the middle there's a rabbit. So that all this can go together. Now what's the significance of that at this time? Renewal. Eventually Osiris became in the hands of the priesthood that kept being, elaborating it. So he went from being a renewal in nature, in vegetation, it's a cycle of renewal. And he became, a symbol of resurrection, and all this, led into the later Christian story of resurrection. But originally, he's in nature. He also has to do with water, seeding, nature, vegetation, all of that. So that would be the significance of what he is doing here in this place, Tugvalpete, where he has, traveled from Egypt over to here. And I'm only presenting this part. There's further story of when he appears among the people as a boy with his mother, who in Egypt would be Isis, and like that. Now I want to go to a central theme that I have here, and this is taking place south of Warner Springs, Kupa, and it is in the backcountry of San Diego. That's what they call it, the backcountry. And you go way up there, you're going up the hill or mountains like that, and there's a hamlet up there, and it's called Yacumba. And that's kind of curious as a name. Some people may think it's Spanish and pronounce it, Jacumba, but it's not Spanish. It's actually Arabic. It's interesting that there's an Arabic name there. Who did that? Well, we don't know. But what the Arabic name means there is the sacred mushroom. The first part of that, ya, is not ha in Spanish. Ya. Ya is a diphthong. A diphthong for the same instance that the whoever Judeo-Christian, I'll just call them, have made up the name of Yahweh. That's a concocted version of using the diphthong and its syllable. So you translate it as exalted or sacred in this case. Kumba is the mushroom name, ancient mushroom name, and Ba in Arabic would mean the gift. Basically, Yakumba would mean the gift of the sacred mushroom. However, to the Kauai, it is Mishapa. Mishapa means the place of the wild gourd. And these wild gourds are actually, we call them coyote melons. And if you could go over here, so I could put something there as a semblance for what a coyote melon looks like. They look like that. They're little. So maybe coyotes eat them. I'm not sure if people ate them. But that would be the Kauai name for what Yakumba is in that location. And there are, or is, hot springs there. And the Americans at some time had a hotel there, and not too long ago, I don't know, 40 years ago or something, it burned down. And it hasn't been replaced, so that's what Yakumba is. Naishpa, the place of the wild gourd. And if you go way over there, you see my photo. This is a photo of me at a place that was there called Weeping Buffalo. So this is the Weeping Buffalo in Yakumba, Naishpa. And what that relates to is everything that I've learned there, but also my main figure here. So you can go over here and look at this clay figure. I obtained this there in Yakumba from a woman who lived there. She would hike around. It's a very rocky place. And it's also the site, of yoni stones. And she would find things, and some of those things I acquired. Like old pottery and things like that. So that's what that is. Then we go up above that. This is my painting of that. Now, the name for this piece in Kauai is Pushkat. Pushkat meaning face doll. Face doll. It's very significant. I have no idea how old it is or what age it belongs to, since everything there in the back country belongs to a very early period, yet people were living there until not too long ago. And what this face doll is, this Pushkat, be the name of her, is that basically she's saying, when you yawn, you look just like me. And she would say that is Nishpuli, Nishpuli, yawning, you look just like me. And what she's doing there, when she yawns, when you yawn, you're taking in air. You're taking in air. So something, entering in here like that, and you close your eyes when you yawn. And up above there, the forehead there, you see a deep groove. This groove, has really said something to it, it's keen, and it's in her forehead. Kinkie, and that means, she's frowning. It's like a frown when you frown because you're in deep thought. But also, most interesting, it also means love. In Egypt, it is mer, meaning love. So here in her forehead, kin, kwe, or gua, would mean love. So all this has to do with a deepening into her, a way in. there are many, what they call them yoni stones, vulva-looking rocks. Some of them have been enhanced. Maybe in the future I can show you some. And the Americans don't really know much about any of this sort of thing. But there still is a feminine, woman, ancient culture that has resided in this culture in the back country there and into the desert here. And I'm going to show you something about that. And it all would have to do with a renewal. Again, I'm known as Coyote, nature's son, tracking the fat left undone. And that's what I'm doing here, exactly here. Remembering from last week, to go way over there, you see those pictures of the rabbits here. This all has to do with Osiris, Osir. And the top one there that I have in the shield, I've actually replicated this from the Egyptian, is Unnefer. Unnefer means beautiful rabbit or beautiful hare. And this is the title of Osir or Osiris, that has been incorporated into this Kauai culture where Warner Springs now is. And below that, you see this is also from Egypt. Egypt was made up into districts they called nomes. They're like counties, and every county had its particular something or somebody that would be its standard. And so this one is for the place in Egypt where the rabbit is the chief deity of that county. So if we look at that and its usage in that, then I would say the Kauai's place at Warner Springs would have that standard. That would be Rabbit's house. That's Rabbit's place. And that would show the connection of all the names and so forth that the people, they call Copeños there, would have in reference to the rabbit. The Americans really don't know anything about these things. The Americans have made up their own ideas about everybody here. And so here we're back here with the Pushkat here. In my theme here, I'm relating not only the Egypt inheritance for the Kauai, but also even further east than Egypt and even more ancient. And the ancient civilization, everybody knows now Iraq. Iraq is where Mesopotamia is. And Mesopotamia is where Babylon is. And Babylon is where Sumer has been. It's these rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers, is where all these things, and Chaldea. Chaldea is to the south there of these places. And there are many Chaldeans here in San Diego, interestingly here. So now the connection of the culture I'm talking about here, the Kauai culture, also has inherited amazingly from thousands of years ago. Now again, the recent archaeology has shown that as far as the archaeological evidence is, these people, the Kauai, have been living in this place, Anza Borrego we call it now, for 8,000 years. Now that certainly will encompass everything of the ancient Near East as well. So now continuing with this mysterious figure, which is feminine and is not, a genital figure like many of the pre-patriarchal feminine figures that still exist in India. The earliest known name of this ancient goddess was Nin Anak. Nin Anak means she of the date cluster. And here in the Kauai, her name is Nin Maiwuta Nawika, woman of the date tree. The date tree that we're talking about here is the fan palm called Nin Mao. in Mao is the fan palm, and it produces a lot of fruit. And we are rendering that fruit as dates, as well as the kind of dates that grow on the date palm. They're two different trees, but they're similar in this way. And the sense of the desert and everything that comes through this ancient Near East is what I'm going to give you those names. This is all from tablets that have been found and discovered for 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. Nin Herseg is the Earth Mother. Nin Shuber is she of the East. And Ningal, the great Gal, goddess of the reed. All this, again, is all from Sumer, written on clay tablets. And the poem of that is called The Descent of Inanna. Inanna is she of heaven and earth. Within that, another fellow figure appears, and it's Urshakal. Urshakal is she of the desert. And what is that meaning in all of this? And for our time, the desert is the place outside the patriarchal consciousness. And she is the continuum of the transformations of one energy. So that's the way that I can bring all of this in. And we can look over here, and you look at this figure here. This is a loop. And this is her ancient emblem, or her ancient symbol. It was a loop of grass, probably juncus grass. It's a grass that's kind of a reed, and there are people here that continue to make baskets, from the juncus grass. Here I used the sweetgrass to make this loop. And so it's very, very, very ancient. And in Egypt, it was incorporated into their whole system of hieroglyphs, we call netters, really. And the name in that would be Saha. Saha. And a meaning where this is used would be the spiritual body of a man. And certainly gets the spiritual body of Ra, Ray, like that. So that is a very ancient symbol that anybody could fashion one themselves. It's a loop of grass or a loop of reeds. And the reeds would be the juncus because it's a kind of reed grass, like that. We go way over to the across from that, the other side. I'm showing that the Guyas made these coil baskets. Again, coil basketry has also come from the Near East or Mid East, that kind of thing, like that. Because of the processing of grain required, something made like this. They put the hot coils in with the grain to season it or scorch it. And so the whole lineage from, the Eastern Mediterranean all the way over here to the Americas follows the same expansion in the maps of the languages that we're calling Hamitic or Semitic. And there I also included, a frond of the fan palm there to say this is an example of what a fan leaf, fan palm basket would look like. That's how it looks. And I think I should cover that. You see Pushkat over there. So Pushkat is the creator deity, if we want to deify him. But he is the creator, and that creator has to do with creating everything. In that, he has much in common with the ancient Osiris. Osiris is also a creator of everything. So in that sense, Pushkat would be that. Pushkat would maybe even derive from Egypt. I'm not absolutely I don't have proof of that, but his name could be Mukhati. Mukhati would mean his heart, because when Coyote snatched up his heart out of the cremation fire and ran over the desert, the heart continued to bleed and was stained on the rocks that I showed you. That is also has its origin in ancient Egypt here. And I should go over here to this character that I did last week. This is like the twin brother of Pushkat, Tema, Wea, Tema meaning the land or the earth, as the earth maker. Here, this is a figure from 1,000 years ago here, and he has feet where he's standing on snakes. They look like snakes. Either it's a snake that has two heads or two snakes like that, and his back is a big hump also. And also, again, with the ancient Egypt, and the hill or the knoll is also a symbol of Osiris, Osor. So this figure on his back, he has that hump. And here's the grass, which is his hair after he went down into the ground. And in this one, I put this figure here. This is a Mojave doll, and Claudia made this Mojave doll. They're little figures that were made, I don't know, some time ago, maybe 100 years ago or something like that. So, and what I have him here for is that he is she is the daughter of Temahuet, and she's figured there in Warner Springs, Kupa, by the fan palm tree, where when the Korea lived there, the women, the girls would bury their hair, they cut off their hair and they would bury their hair there under that palm tree, which I had last time. So that's the significance of her there. Other things that I have here, I introduced, the stone coil was made by a native woman out there. I got that from Ted out there in Borrego Springs. And then here's a clay pipe from out there. And here's a bowl, like a pallet from out there in the desert, and it's made of the porous volcanic stone that you can see out there. And then next to that, you see this is another pot from Borrego Springs. And what's interesting, I've never seen it otherwise, you see there's a painted figure. You could call it a cross or a flower, painted in red, and it was fired, with that. It's not been added on afterwards. It's evident that it almost formed a kind of glaze, which itself is interesting because some people may have eventually discovered how they could glaze this kind of pottery here. And over here I have a drawing. This is my drawing. It's actually from up there in the mountains of above Yakumba. I'm not sure what they named the mountains are, but I did this drawing out there with the wind and everything of Claudia. That's who's there. So I really like that to go with this whole sense that we have here. Here she's carrying a sword. She was a practitioner of the sword form. She had a teacher and a sword, and she actually used to do that sword form. It's a Chinese form of the sword. So here's Claudia, for all of that. And then we can go way over there and you see here's an Oya. Here's an old Oya, and this is also from Borrego Springs here. And people still, continue to use these. I acquired it from Ted because he got it from the woman and she couldn't use it anymore because it developed a little crack in it, which I mended. But here you can see a very good soulful desert Oya. Now we're going to finish this from everything that I can say. Maybe I should just do a little roundup. Again, the names in Korea that starts with N-I or N-I-N that relate, all to the ancient names as they are in the ancient Sumer or Mesopotamia. And that's very interesting for all of the names that appear in this Korea language is Yuhari. Yuhari is the Korea language. It seems that in this language, the ni, is the way I'm pronouncing it, does mean, it's a kind of used as a kind of verb, meaning to the mature of a woman. So we use it like, she becomes old, or she becomes pregnant. Oh, that would be another one. Pregnancy, to a woman to be pregnant, is nei. So you can see with the connection of everything, like the gourds, the seeds, the growth, all of these things, which the ancient women, we could call them goddesses in a modern sense, like that, all relate to the woman and her being nurtured and nourishing, and the land and so forth. All of these things that all go together. So I'm making that emphasis of the relation of the Korea, who have lived here for 8,000 years, and their relation is in their stories and in their language from ancient Egypt, and also even more ancient of the Near East. Sumer is the most ancient one, 6,000 years or 5,000 years. There are these clay tablets that this poem has been translated from, that I've been referring to here. So I want to finish with that for having Claudia come up and recite, one of her poems. And she's wearing a shirt of Maturango, which is the Korea museum, I should say, out there in Banning.
Ridgecrest. Okay. Good. I want to thank you, Coyote, for relating us to all of these wonderful things, these artifacts. And honored to read Loba, or The Undivided Heart. She-Wolf Land, Native Mother, where spirit and ordinary worlds are permeable realities, side by side, like you and me, as accessible as wading in a river or the sun on our skin. In her, we are all related. Mita kuye oyasin. We integrate rituals into our daily lives, planting, harvesting, raising animals, or creating. In She-Wolf's body is everything in the cosmos. We journey into spirit realms, the great mystery. We offer her tobacco, sweetgrass, and cedar, smudge our thoughts, feelings, senses, free from any notion of separation. Fan prayer feathers to the earth and sky. Walk these sacred grounds as part of a spatial truth, always a multiplicity of one.
Oh.